Hello, first round fantasy fans. Welcome on into the first round fantasy podcast, your home for second round advice. I'm your host today, Gabriel Montes, and I'm joined by Demont Ricks and Justin Morsaz. Gentlemen, we just watched a Monday Night Football game that was, for some of us, very grueling to watch if you were a Dalvin Cook owner. They balled him up good tonight. I mean, he still had a good performance, but I don't know. How are you guys feeling? Did you guys win your matchups this week?
1 out of 6. I'll take it.
2 for 2 for me.
0 for 2, Justin?
2 for 2. One of both.
2.
Pure luck, everybody. Pure luck.
Some fool's gold picks, my friend. Very nice. I saw that.
I got to give it up to my boy Thielen for coming clutch with those 2 touchdowns.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, the one guy I didn't need to pop off popped off, and the 2 guys I needed to pop off were fairly unpoppable today. So it's just the way the cookie crumbles sometimes. You can't take it out on them, right? Anyways, we got a good show for you guys today. Obviously, in action, we're missing Jacob Bartley and Joseph Morsaz. They're 49er fans. Their season's just not looking good, so they're sad. They're taking the week off. With that being said, we are here, and we got a good show for you today. Let's start with some injuries. Man, I think first and foremost, we got to talk about Drew Brees. Looking to miss a couple of weeks. And this is a similar scenario of what happened last year when Teddy Bridgewater stepped in for a 4-week period, went 4-0. Some would even say he was fantasy relevant. Are you guys going for Jameis Winston? If you have someone like a Deshaun Watson or, I don't know, a suspectable top 10 QB who's just not performing, are you aiming for Jameis Winston on the waiver wire this week in hopes that he can put up? Because think about it. Last year, although in terms of the NFL, he wasn't the greatest, but he was a fantasy relevant player last year. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but he finished well inside the top 10 at the QB position. So are you guys starting Jameis Winston with the new eyes, LASIK surgery over the offseason, training under Drew Brees? Doesn't it just sound appetizing? Throwing to Alvin Kamara, Michael Thomas? What are you guys doing? Justin, are you picking up Jameis Winston?
You know, if I need him, I will. It's hard because if he was on a different team, I would feel better about it. But I don't know what they're going to do over there. Maybe they give Taysom Hill a little bit more run. Maybe they do some more reserve-type plays, but maybe he can come out flinging it like he did last year. But if anything can get Michael Thomas going, I want to go that route. So I might take a flyer on Winston if I had to and hope for a 400-yard bomb of a game, and we all smile at the end.
I mean, yeah, the guy was very capable of those games when he played in Tampa Bay. Damon, what about you? Are you a Winston fan? Are you guys remember that?
I am purely because
No?
I'm a Dak owner. Oh, well, he did. I'm sorry. He did.
Yeah, thank you. I'm glad you got it.
Well, I mean, a lot of people out there are still suffering like secondhand trauma from Dak being out. So, and that led me down the Derek Carr path. So, yeah, somebody like Jameis Winston seems super appetizing, especially for those people that have been week to week, because you can't replace Dak. So I know everybody's just been hitting the waiver wire. So, yeah, for you Dak owners, Winston's good for a couple weeks.
Yeah, Dak owners, I mean streaming owners, all of those guys are totally worthy to start. Looks like we lost Justin. We'll get back to him in a second. But with that being said, I don't know, man. Or actually, I should say I do know. I'm totally going after Winston, dude. I want to eat some W's. The guy got like LASIK eye surgery over the offseason. He got training under Drew Brees. He's someone I want in my fantasy lineup, especially if he's capable of popping off 40-point games.
Do you think that Sean Payton will let him throw the ball, though?
Yeah, of course, man.
Yeah.
He's new and improved. This is going to be a better Jameis Winston. All right.
I've always liked him.
I've always liked him too. Like I said, he's not good in terms of the NFL. I mean, when you throw more interceptions than you do touchdowns, it's kind of crazy, but he's just got so many air yards, dude. He just lets it fly. I think they're going to let him loose a little bit. All right, that takes us on to I guess another quarterback we could mention, Teddy Bridgewater, someone to monitor. I don't know if too many people out there were starting the Bridgeman himself. but keep an eye out. Seemed to have tweaked his knee. Luckily, it wasn't the knee that he hurt very bad 2 years ago. So at least that's good, right? And a couple of other notable ones. Malcolm Brown, if you're in the mix with that weird, Los Angeles Rams 3-headed dragon backfield, then, I guess it clears things up for you. But if you're the Malcolm Brown owner, I guess it doesn't, whatever. And then you also have John Brown, one of Demont's favorite players. He's good. He's good when he's healthy. And I think we've seen this a lot with his sickle cell trade and injuries. He's just kind of there when he is, and when he's not, he's not. So you kind of live with it. Am I missing anyone, guys?
Nick Foles got banged up at the very end of the game, but I don't think anyone's playing or streaming him. So hope he gets healthy soon, but it looked like it could be a while that he's going to be out.
Yeah, it looked like a nasty hip issue, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I think it was spine related because he wasn't really moving his legs and he got carted off.
Damn.
Well, we'll pour one out for Nick Foles. Some will call him the Philly hero because he won that Super Bowl. So props to him.
Lockett too.
Oh, yeah, Lockett too. Yeah, so a couple of other notable ones I missed. Well, we can't hit on all the injuries. We're moving on, folks. Let's go to waiver wires.
I'm ready to go in, Coach. Just give me a chance. I know there's a lot riding on it, but it's all psychological. Just got to stay in a positive frame of mind.
All righty, let's talk some waivers, folks. We are in the nitty gritty. I say this nitty gritty is the phrase I use to describe weeks 7 through 13 because it's like you kind of got to make that push. Trade deadline is passing. It's just the nitty gritty time. There's not usually a lot of good stuff out there, but sometimes there are diamonds in the rough to be found. And this week, hopefully, we have some for you to keep an eye on. I guess one that I'll bring up right off the bat, I don't know if I really want to say this, and it's only contingent on if Austin Eckler is not back in week 11, but that's Kalen Ballage, man. The guy has had some sort of a resurgence in San Diego, or I guess Los Angeles. Yeah. 2 weeks in a row now, the man has had 15-plus fantasy points. He had 18 touches last week. Anybody who has 18 touches, the offense seems to be moving the ball pretty well under Justin Herbert. Like I said, if Austin Eckler's not back, Tromaine Pope, the other running back, also had 10 carries and 67 yards and 5 receptions. Kalen Ballage also added a couple of receptions as well. So fantasy-worthy athletes to keep an eye on in the Los Angeles backfield. Justin Jackson out on IR for a couple of weeks. I guess that opened the door for guys like this. But Joshua Kelly, you guys have any interest in him? He seems to be fading after his hot start. Are you? If you had to own any one of those three next week to start, Tremaine Pope, Kalen Ballage, or Joshua Kelly, what are you guys thinking, Justin?
Without a doubt, Ballage. Never thought I'd say that, but he's just getting the time, and he's just kind of more proven, I guess, out of those lot, and it seems like they favor him because he has been getting the run the past 2 weeks. I would start him with confidence the way it's going. Most
definitely. Demont, you feel the same way?
I feel the same way, but Eckler is playing though, isn't he?
Well,
what I was reading on that, there's a couple of hints to that. There's word that he's coming back, but then someone watched him on Twitch and he said, I'm still not running at full speed, something of that variance. So even though they're hinting towards it, I would say at least 1 more week out, maybe even 2 if I had to put a time frame on it.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I saw a Twitter video of him that he put out, and he said something along the lines of "Look out, I'm back" or something like that. And I realized, let's be honest, Austin Eckler at 30% is still faster than me. Probably Austin Eckler at 10% is way faster than me at 100%. But that video of him running, he didn't look very fast. So I'm like, is that supposed to give me confidence to be like, oh, Eckler's coming back? He didn't look good, right? So I think he's on the fringe, but maybe not week 11. I think they hold him out another week or two, which is perfect because you want him healthy for the playoffs when you need him. With that being said, Kalen Ballage is someone I find confidence in, unbelievably so. It's just the situation we find ourselves in 2020, guys. 2020, the only person having success is Kalen Ballage. Good for him.
Seriously.
Someone's having a good 2020. Wide receiver for me as well. if he's out there. I know he's owned in a couple of leagues, and that's Corey Davis, wide receiver for the Tennessee Titans. He's carving a strong role as a wide receiver 2 in that Titans wide receiving corps. A couple of tough matchups coming up, but if you can weather that storm, he's got 3+ matchups to kind of usher you into the playoffs. And I just think that there's a lot of attention going towards A.J. Brown these days. And that bodes well for Corey Davis, who for years was looked at as the wide receiver number 1 there and wasn't very proven. And now he's finding love as a wide receiver 2. So someone especially with me, I am literally shooting in the dark with wide receivers these days. So I'd like to have some confidence in Corey Davis, and he's kind of proven it this year. So I'll take a look at him. Justin, what about you? Wide receivers, running backs, or you like my Corey Davis pick?
I'm going to go by the steadfast rule if they're 50% owned, and right at the teeter, 50% in all Yahoo leagues, Gallman is available. So if you need a running back, he should be picked up regardless. You deserve it to yourself to go check and see if he's available. That's a no-brainer, top of the list. After that, same thing, 50%. My man Cole Beasley, if you started him this week, you literally got wide receiver 1 on the week. That's crazy to think about. Not that he did amazing. He didn't drop 40, but it was a low type of week for wide receivers, and he balled out. Beasley is a must-own. And then Jacob talked about this last couple of podcasts, and he said the boy Jacoby Myers over there in New England, and this guy has had a great game and 2 good games. He's treading on the upwards, and looks like he's 48% owned, so I would definitely do it. One tight end that I think is going to get you into the playoffs, though, these next 2 weeks are super juicy, and that's my boy Logan Thomas in the Washington football team. He plays Dallas. Actually, he plays Bengals first, and we know what the Bengals all are about. And then he plays Dallas. If you need some help and you're in tight end hell, this is the great pickup to get. I got a couple more, but those are my main guys.
Leave it to Justin, man. He's always got the list. Let me spin this to you, Justin. You have someone like Mark Andrews, tight end for the Baltimore Ravens. He fairly successful this last week. He posted a season high 6 for 71. Would you rather start Logan Thomas, tight end for the Washington Redskins, or would you rather start Mark Andrews the next 2 weeks? I don't know what Mark Andrews' matchups are, but just given his track record this season and Lamar Jackson's inability to get him the ball, who are you thinking? Because, I mean,
I would say I'm going Mark Andrews still. It's closer than most people think, but I drafted him. I'm not going to bench him for a possible waiver pickup like Thomas. Thomas is for those guys who've been streaming like Ingram or,
Graham.
These no offense that just can't get it done, and you want that winner. And I think Andrews is on a good enough team. They need to win some games. They just had a bad loss against New England, I think. So he's trending upwards in targets, so hopefully it carries over. But I go Andrews in that matchup.
Well, I'm glad you said that because that's coming from myself. So I'm going to stick with Mark Andrews. Demont, you got a waiver wire?
Did you guys see that weather, by the way? That was horrible.
Oh, it was raining all day, all night.
That New England, Baltimore weather. Baltimore would have won if it was sunny.
Maybe.
But my waiver wire is going to be a guy that I think can win you a league if the guy in front of him goes out, and that is Devontae Booker. Jalen Richard is banged up, so he's going to go roll into that pass-catching third down role, and he's a hard runner, and he's behind somebody that gets 20 to 30 touches a game, so it's like highly possible that he can get injured or tweaked or go out for some reason. So I put a waiver in, especially if I'm like a good team, just to pick him up for no reason and just sit on him. He's only 3% owned, so you should be able to find him in most leagues.
As a Raider fan, can you shed some light as to how they got away with running 21 times with Jacobs and 16 times with Booker? How'd that work out?
That's what we do, baby. We just win. All right,
we're a running team,
just win. Okay, we adapt on the fly and we figure out how to do it as we go along.
For the Jacob owners, Booker is a mandatory handcuff, obviously, right?
100%.
I would say that's why I'm surprised he's only 3% roster, because if I had Jacobs, I would have Booker somewhere.
So there you go. That's the gold mine that you're looking for.
Yeah. Jacob may have not have Jacobs may have not have been the fantasy star that you have wanted him to be, but he's always been consistent. And last week's game was the start of, I think, many great games. They have a lot of plus matchups coming up. Jacobs is going to benefit from those. And I think Booker is too. I mean, I'm not saying you could start both of them at once by any means, but if you're in a 12-team league, desperate for a flex spot, I think Devin Booker is worthy of that. Seeing his workload has gradually increased over the last 3 weeks. And like Demont mentioned, Jalen Richard's, he's dealing with some injury issues. He's going to be out a week or two. I feel 100% confident starting him knowing that the
Jacobs has been a better football running back than he has been a fantasy running back. He always gets that third down or that extra yard that you need to win a football game. But in terms of fantasy, he's been kind of quiet. I agree.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I think that's a solid pick, Demont. Matter of fact, be careful because someone might be eyeing him. Just letting you know. I'm sorry, I have the Sports Center on in front of me, and if you were a fantasy owner of Nick Chubb over the weekend, and you just happened to need that last second touchdown and watch Chubb step out at the 1 yard line, we pour one out for you too. All right. We sympathize with all fantasy owners out there if you're a Nick Chubb guy and you needed that touchdown.
Damn.
Anyways, we got any more waiver wire pickups? Justin, who's your hot one? I know you got a few more in there.
I got a secret undercover one that's been coming over the past weeks, and if you listen, you know to pick him up. But Lazard is set to come back pretty soon, and I think Lazard would just step into that wide receiver 2 pretty seamlessly, and it would be a nice stash for these upcoming weeks.
Yeah, even with Marquez Valdez-Scantling there, he's never really been that wide receiver 2. He's been that really boom guy that gets you that 75-yard bomb. Like, he's not going to get you a go route. He's not going to get you an under. You know, that dude literally just catches bombs, and he's boom or bust. I think Lazard gives you a more solid floor as that wide receiver 2. So, yeah, someone to definitely keep an eye on. I think we're good here, though. Waiver wires are good this week. Look at that. We said you couldn't find anybody. The waiver wires were skinny, and then we just gave you some great options to lead you into make the fantasy push for the playoffs. Let's move on to dark horses. First round fantasies dark horses of the week. So right before the show, we got a text from our head honcho, Jacob, and he said, hey, make sure you mention my dark horse and my fool's gold player. Rightly so, Jacob. We'll give you that shout out right now. His dark horse of the week was Ronald Jones. The man took off for a 98-yard touchdown. And don't get me wrong, he was quite successful other than that. It wasn't like it was just one boom play that got him the day. He had an all-around great game. So confident. I mean, that's a good choice, especially when you have owners, you know, that were scared to start him after the fumble last week. Then you see Fournette the rest of the game. Jacob called for the comeback, and he was successful. He also – we'll get to that in a second. Let's see. Joe, also not here today. He picked Sterling Shepard. Unfortunately, didn't go the way he planned in a plus matchup. But, I mean, Sterling Shepard still looks good. I think he's a wide receiver 3. He's someone you got to keep an eye on. Unless you have someone better, yeah, you're probably starting them. But if you need someone, I think Sterling Shepard's a good guy, especially Slayton. He got injured and then he came back in, but I think he's still dealing with an issue. So that'll be a situation to keep an eye on. And let's see, who did our boy Justin pick? Hollywood Brown. Not so Hollywood, huh?
Man,
I just want to say, he got the targets. I give up. I'm done with Hollywood Brown. I'm happy that no one traded to me him at the beginning of the year, but this was his last chance, and I'm sorry for that recommendation. But never again will it be Hollywood Brown.
it was the weather.
Let me show you to Demont Ricks in week 6 when he felt the same way. He also lost confidence in Hollywood Brown. He came out on Twitter and said something along the lines of, I don't get the love I deserve. How are you going to have a soldier and not use him? I don't know. Something, you know. I don't know.
His quarterback is kind of boo-boo this year. So
that team
is true.
That team is just underperforming big time.
That is true. That is definitely true. Well, we'll look to make it right. We'll make your amends. Demont and I weren't here, so we picked Kyler Murray and
Like DeAndre Hopkins.
Oh, I think Cole Beasley. That's right. I remember.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Oh yeah.
Surprisingly, if I have my phone, I do. I'll show you guys after. I picked him in DFS, but my team still really sucked. So never mind.
It's all good.
Anyways, let's get into dark horses for this week. Again, these are situations where guys are teetering with playoff expectations. Their start-sit decisions are becoming ever so more important. We need to give them that advice. We think we're going to lead you in the right direction. Demont, who is your dark horse candidate of the week?
My dark horse candidate of the week is gonna be Amari Cooper.
Oh, nice.
He's getting Dalton back, and when Dalton was playing, he was showing Cooper love. And I think a lot of people are going to be benching him because of the hard matchup versus Minnesota. But I think they got to score some kind of points, and so I'd rather play Cooper over Ron Weasley or whatever. Justin.
Ron Weasley.
Cole Beasley. Yeah.
You mean wide receiver 1 of week 10? Cole Beasley?
No, honestly, hey, if Dalton's coming back, that's a solid pick. Especially after someone who traded for Cooper after the Dak injury. I would be happy to see Cooper have a nice bounce back game. You have a fearless forecast for us, my friend, as our friends at Yahoo would say.
Well, yeah, that's good. It's 8 targets, 6 catches, 100 yards, and a touchdown.
Nice,
I like that line a lot.
Hey, it's a good line, but you got to write it down, man. Jacob's usually here to write them down. Make sure we remember these because I can't write it down. Actually,
I'll remember it.
All right, perfect. Hey, that's not a solid. That's a solid pick, my friend. Justin, what about you? Who's your dark horse pick of the week?
You guys tell me if it counts. If not, I got a backup. But I'm going with Justin Jefferson. Does he count as a dark horse? Or
of course he does.
Regardless?
You're saying he's gonna overperform his.
I'm gonna say he overperformed
projection.
big time.
Yeah, dude, that's totally fine.
Yeah,
mine's
Justin
more of a cheater
Jefferson.
than that. Go ahead.
You saw what he did against Chicago, a harder defense, and now he plays Dallas. And we know Dallas, the whole team's been in shambles, but the defense has been really awful. So I'll go right now. Yahoo says 15.5 PPR, definitely higher than that. So start him as your wide receiver 1 confident play. That is the guy to go with.
Hey, and guys, this is the guy that started Cole Beasley.
So you gotta listen to him. You gotta listen to him.
Some people have said I'm a wide receiver guru. I don't know if it's true, but I always got those. My grandma may have said it. Yeah, she might be one of them. But I'm not really a halfback guy, so I got to make my living off the wide receivers, and I do trust JJ this next upcoming week.
That's a good one. Yeah, he had a strong showing on Monday Night Football, over 100 receiving yards. I got to be honest, the book it down that we have from a few weeks back of Ayuk and Jefferson rest of the season, it's close.
It's close. It's actually closer than I thought. Yeah,
it's close. Ayuk is definitely not what I thought he would be. He's getting better and he's doing great things. But
I will say the Niners show that man like he's been in the league for 8 years, just the best wide. It's really insane how much they use him, but he's good. So props to him. It's going to be
He's strong.
It's a good bet. I'm excited to see it all play out.
Yeah, he's good. He's good. But solid pick, Justin. We're 2 for 2. Solid picks. I'm going to make it 3 for 3, even though this one might teeter the line as well. But I'm going to go with it anyways because I need a bounce back, and I think this player is due for a bounce back, and that's James Conner, running back for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Look, people might be scared. 2 straight weeks of 5 or fewer fantasy points in juicy plus matchups. It just hasn't gone his way in the end zone or around the goal line. Big Ben has opted to throw the ball in the red zone the last few weeks, and that doesn't bode well for James Conner. This is also in large part because the last 2 weeks, Pittsburgh has been down at the half, causing them to come out of the gates firing to catch up. Now, obviously, they won last week pretty comfortably, but that wasn't the case coming out of halftime. He does get Jacksonville this week, which is a bottom 5 rush defense. I can confidently say, I said that with no confidence at all, but I can confidently say James Conner is looking to bounce back. 15 carries, 80 yards, throw a TD in there, 4 passes as well for about 40 yards. That's 18 plus fantasy points. That's about as high as I'll go. I think his Yahoo stat right now is about 14 something. So I'm going just over that. 18 plus. Should I be really confident and go 20?
You don't have to, but you should.
I'm sticking with what I got. 18 plus fantasy points. I think he's going to get you back on the solid ground, solid RB2 numbers in week 11. That is my dark horse of the week. I feel good, guys. We got some good ones, huh?
Yeah, that
I
was
like
good.
that.
If you're listening tonight or tomorrow morning, you should feel confident. Pick those guys up, start them. Let's move on to Fool's Gold.
You are out of here. Whatever. I don't really care. I'm just gonna sit this one out.
Sweet, sweet stuff. Fool's Gold players of the week. Jacob, my friend, if you're listening, you hit again. San Francisco running backs. They were not the running backs of years past. And you were rightly right. I don't know if you can say that. That doesn't really sound right. But yeah,
Sounds good enough.
you got it right. Justin, you went with the Cincinnati running backs, and you're right. They went full-blown committee over there on Giovanni Bernard after 2.5 weeks or 2 weeks or so of great ball gameplay from Giovanni Bernard. And they went out there and gave carries to P. Ryan and just a slew of other people. I have no idea who they are. So I don't know how you predicted that, but should we call you the running back predictor as well?
No, that was more of a defensive trend. I mean, the Steelers are just crazy when it comes to the run. When they started lighting it up, they're not going to use their running game like they normally do. So it was not an easy call, but it had to be made because started Gio. I told you not to. What can I? Well, it is.
It is what it is. I don't have Joe's here. Can you recall, Justin? Do you remember what he said? He didn't log it down.
I think he was coming back with one, and he never got back to us. He wasn't quite sure who he wanted to pinpoint on that.
Oh, I feel. Hey, well, the guys both hit. So, again, we're staying strong over there. Let's talk about this week. Some of the guys that we're thinking, man, it looks good, or, hey, it looks a little shaky. Let's temper our expectations. Justin, I'm going to start with you. Who's your Fool's Gold player of the week?
Certain people aren't going to like this because he's been trending up, but I have this feeling, and Jerry Jeudy is just not going to be what you want him to be. If you have that third, fourth option and you're wavering between Jeudy or other receivers in that bracket where you're hoping he pops off for a touchdown, he's playing Miami, and Miami's defense is kind of middle of the pack, but I like their pass D, and they're a good team overall. I think Judy's not going to get a lot of work. They're going to aim to shut him down because he's been lights out kind of lately for what he's been doing. I would bench him and go somewhere else. It's just Fool's Gold this week. Not a bad player, just the matchup I want to stay away from.
Hey, not a bad one. Not a bad one. I can't disagree with you there. Jerry Jeudy. Ooh, I got a good story about that, but I'll save it for another day. No, I'll tell it right now. I traded Jacob for Jerry Jeudy on like a 2-week rental, and I haven't given him back yet. So sorry, Jacob, but I probably won't. Just the way it works sometimes. You win trades, all right? That's how you do it. Demont, who is your Fool's Gold player of the week?
I actually like my Fool's Gold player of the week.
Wait, what do you mean? You actually like? Aren't you supposed to like your picks?
Well, no, I like him. Like I'd start him, but I'd be cautious about it. That's Naheem Hines, because Wilkins and Taylor were. If you watch that game, they were not getting any love inside in the 20. That's because Tennessee has one of the better like interior defenses, and Naheem Hines he's more tricky and he can run routes better than those two. So that's why he had more success.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So I would just temper my expectations. I mean, Green Bay is a plus matchup. Damn, actually, no. Let's redo this. I don't want him. Start Naheem Hines.
I don't think it's I almost want to back up your Fool's Gold because
I don't know. I just
sure
realized they're playing against the Packers though. That's a plus matchup for him.
Let me lobby for you. Let me lobby on why that's a good pick because the Packers have a really bad run defense. They're going to be scoring some points, hopefully. But if you saw what Dalvin Cook did to them, I'm not saying Wilkins or
Taylor
or Cook, but they're going to run up the middle. They're going to hit them where they get hurt. And
That's true. Yeah.
I do think Nyheim Hines is going to get some play, but not over the other two, possibly getting that run game plus, if that makes sense.
There you go.
But
Yeah,
you're
right.
free to change it, but I do.
No, you're right. Green Bay's run defense is paper thin. So Wilkins and Taylor should get work in the middle, which means you wouldn't have to utilize Hines as much.
Yeah, and if you think about Hines in general, I mean, it's fair to say that most people probably aren't starting him when he does go off. Like he went off in week 1. Nobody was really anticipating that. He went off for 30 fantasy points. Then he puts up pretty much dud numbers all the way up until week 8, where he went off for 22. And then he didn't do so good against Baltimore. Most people don't. Reference Joe's last pick. And then he went off against Tennessee. So he's kind of a boomer bust reliable. Oh, I didn't say reliable, but he's kind of a boomer bust pick week in and week out. You kind of just never know when you're going to hit the jackpot with Nyheim Hines. And it's fair to say that, hey, he's probably not going to do it this week. Justin gave some good insight. Demont with the pick. I like it.
All right. Appreciate the tag team.
Stay strong with it.
Well, someone give me a tag team here because this is a big hit I'm about to take. And I'm taking on the man.
That was a suspect comment.
I'm taking on the big hitter himself, and that's A.J. Brown, wide receiver for the Tennessee Titans. He takes on a tough top 5 defense in the Baltimore Ravens. Listen, you just talked about it. That game over there, it was ugly. It was in bad weather. The Patriots got away with a few trick plays to keep them in it. Mm-hmm. They got that. Weren't they the beneficiaries of that super long punt return as well? No, I think that was a different game. Needless to say,
the Raider game. No,
it wasn't the Raider game. Needless to say, weather permitting, it wasn't the best going for the Baltimore defense. I'm here to say, though, that they are, in fact, a top 5 defense in the NFL. They will focus their attention on A.J. Brown. I think they're not going to do what, oh my goodness, they're not going to do what Ramsey did to Metcalf, but holy cow.
He locked him down.
I think they're going to fairly keep A.J. Brown contained. Brown has a track record, although this season he's been a bit out of his show. He has very big explosion plays, which turn into big games. But I say temper your expectations. I think he's on the docket for 15-plus fantasy points on Yahoo right now. Mm-hmm. I don't think he gets that. I think Corey Davis is the beneficiary as a wide receiver too this week. The Ravens, they're not prone to giving up these big plays that we've seen A.J. Brown able to pull off. And I'm here to say, temper your expectations on A.J. Brown. Obviously, everyone's going to go out there and start him, but you're not going to get what you've been getting. All right. Justin, can you back me up on that one?
I'm sorry, I can't. And this isn't a bias because I'm a Brown owner and he's one of my favorite players. But he was one slip up of a catch away from dropping a 70-yard bomb this weekend, saving his day. After what Jacoby and Cam did, I don't see why I don't like Baltimore. I think something's wrong over there, and it's going to fall apart. I'm not saying Tennessee has it all together, but A.J. Brown, to me, is one of those receivers that is almost untouchable. So we'll see. It will be – I do think that it could go one of both ways. I don't think there's middle ground here. But, hey, listen, you've been hitting, so you might be onto something.
He is one of the wide receivers of the future, one of the all-star wide receivers of the future, but not next week. I'm confident with that. Sorry, I couldn't get the backup. Demont, can I get a shout out?
Demont's got you.
I don't like AJ Brown. I'm sorry. I own 0 AJ Brown. Even though he's good, I never draft him.
Yeah, I mean,
all right.
Tannehill, he's been good. He's giving me confidence over there. That Tennessee Titans, they've been playing some really good football. I just think that Baltimore, they're not going to put up a performance like they did last week, almost like Tom Brady 2 weeks ago. Tom Brady didn't come out and lay an egg after a bad performance. I think that's the way that the Baltimore Ravens defense.
That might get you, though, because they had a horrible performance last week, so they're going to come out, they're going to score points, which means Tennessee has to score points. I mean,
on the other hand, we talk about run defense, and I know their defense overall is nice, but Baltimore's run D is more heavy than their pass D.
Their
So
secondary, yeah.
if Henry gets shut down, they're going to look to the passing game. So it will be a good game. I'm interested to see how.
Well,
this goes.
that's true, Justin, because they're going to game plan for Derrick Henry.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah,
but Henry's Henry. So if he drops 150 and 2, I'm not surprised either. So they're just those type of players.
Those type of players and those type of defenses. I mean, you see those defenses like New England and Baltimore. They tend to isolate and game plan for team star players by completely shutting them down. And now we're seeing that from the Rams as well. I mean, up until they faced the Miami Dolphins a couple of weeks ago, they were playing some really good defense and shutting down players. They got back to form when they shut down DK Metcalf and made Russell Wilson not look so much like an MVP like he has been performing. So I hope he can have a rebound week 2. The league is good when Russell Wilson is playing good football. I love that division, man. The Niners, even the Niners, man. I mean, they're not doing well. They're just plagued with injuries, but they're still tough. I mean, they were toe to toe with the Saints for quite some time in that game. So
that's a good first half.
Yeah, that's a good division. Kyler Murray as well. I love it. But yeah, we are all good with Fool's Gold players. And luckily for us, the trade deadline has passed. So unfortunately, no trade targets this week. But I do got to keep trade cut for you guys. Again, this is that time of the year where we have to make these calls. These 3 gentlemen, they haven't necessarily been performing to their standards. And we got to cut one of them loose today. All right. I'm asking for a friend. That's me, by the way. Christian Kirk, wide receiver for the Arizona Cardinals. He missed some of the season due to injury. He came back, gradually increased his production, even had 2 blow-up games. Since then, he's had 2 modest weeks. Then we have Jarvis Landry, wide receiver for the Cleveland Browns. Everybody thought that, well, I guess not everybody. Gabriel Miramontes thought that when Odell went out with the ACL injury that Landry was going to have time to feast. And although in that first week he got the targets, he didn't produce. And he hasn't produced the last couple of weeks since Odell's departure. And last but not least, we have Devontae Parker, whose fantasy value has been dependent on Fitzmagic. And now that Fitzmagic is not there, he has taken a gradual decrease with Troy to under center. So with that being said, gentlemen, these are guys who have had relevance throughout the season. I guess not Landry so much. That might help you a little bit. But with that being said, keep trade cut. Christian Kirk, Jarvis Landry, Devontae Parker. Justin, I'll start with you.
I have to say this is one of the best ones we've had come around. This is actually very difficult. The only one I know for sure is I'm going to trade Jarvis Landry because I can spin it off the Odell is gone, his value raises. As far as keep or cut, I want to keep both of them, but I'm more inclined to cut Parker because that offense is not as high octane as the Cardinals run it. Therefore, I got to keep Kirk, hoping he keeps getting those yards and possibly touchdowns. I mean, it's close, but I'd have to let it fall like that.
That's not bad. I'd be more prone to keeping Kirk as well, knowing that he'd have that boom bust potential. And when you're putting, like, all of these guys are flex options at this point. So when you think about it, do you want someone with a safe floor, or do you want someone who's going to go in there and absolutely win you a week or probably put up a goose egg? So I like Christian Kirk with the high ceiling. Mm-hmm. Demont, what about you? Keep trade cut. Christian Kirk, Jarvis Landry, Devontae Parker.
I'm going to just try and say the same thing Justin said, but different because I agree with Justin. Kirk, you keep Kirk because he's actually a good play and he can win you a week. Mm-hmm. Like you said, Justin, I think that I can spin Landry just based on name value and the fact that Odell's gone, so they got to throw it to somebody. I feel like we'd be able to get the most value for Landry and Parker. Tua's just showing him no love, so I mean, you can't trade him, so you might as well cut him.
You know, he's had 7 targets the past 2 weeks, but they just don't amount to anything. It's just I miss Fitzmagic, I really do.
I know.
And we could throw one more name in there as well, and that's Travis Fulgham, wide receiver for the Philadelphia Eagles. Somebody who is actually wildly dependent over there in Philadelphia because he got you fantasy points. He was a pretty sturdy, consistent option over the last couple of weeks that has slowly declined with the return of Alshon Jeffrey and Dallas Goedert. Do you guys think that with more options there in Philly as the team gets healthy, do we think we say goodbye to Fulgham as a fantasy relevant player? I started him this week, and it did not bode well for me.
I don't think so. He has a plus schedule. I'm seeing Cleveland, Seattle, Green Bay, New Orleans, Arizona, Dallas. That's
wow. That's actually really
playoff
good.
schedule.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I forget he plays in the freaking NFC. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, and then you have – I mean, he just had the last week was just a bad week, but before that he was a stud, and he still got 5 targets. So, no, I think Fulgham stays in your lineup in consideration.
Yeah, consideration is wide receiver 3 or flex play, Justin.
Yeah, for sure, flex play.
If I put him in that list, he all of a sudden goes to the top heap. That was just like Demont said, awful week for them as a team. No one had it going, and everyone's gonna have a bad week. That was just his.
Do we see the demise of Carson Wentz in Philadelphia? I mean, they have Jalen Hurts just sitting there ready to go, and this guy's been wildly underperforming from years past compared to years past. What do you think, guys? Do you think after this year, if the Eagles keep performing like they do, they move on from Carson Wentz?
What's his contract like? Anybody have any kind of idea? No.
No idea.
I'm not sure.
Keep going.
Because it all comes up to that contract. You can't pay somebody big boy money and then just bench him for Hurts, who's probably not going to be that good.
Yeah, one of those really successful.
Fantasy-wise, he's actually been decent, though. I mean, he hasn't been the best, but he's been serviceable besides this last week.
Carson Wentz, I feel like he's been up and down. He has had a few weeks. I guess that's because when I picked him up
25, 23, 26, 33, 36. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, all right. I guess that's fine. In terms of the NFL, though, things have not gone too well.
Well, everybody likes because it's all about money. So if that front office and people are starting to lose interest in the Eagles, like throwing in Hurts will revitalize that.
Mm-hmm.
So as soon as they lose any kind of chance for playoffs or whatnot, then I see Hurts coming in.
Yeah, that's a fair assessment. Justin, you got that contract for us?
Yeah, it looks like he's under till 2022, I want to say, and then they have the option, but don't quote.
Yeah, they're not benching him then.
No, I actually disagree with Demont on that. I think if the second that they're playoff, I take it with a grain of salt. I think that division is so awful they'll be in the playoff hunt the entire year.
Yeah.
But he would be out as soon as they lost hopes for the playoffs. But they don't like him over there. I think they're gonna change all directions unless he finds a new spark. But it won't be until they have zero chance of making the playoffs that he gets moved on.
Yeah, that's fair. I know. And then you look at the running back position over there in Philadelphia, too. You have Miles Sanders doing all the work, as Joe put it in our group chat the other day. And you have people like, Boston Scott, and who's the other guy over there? So you just don't even know. The guy's getting the touchdowns. So it's just a weird situation over there for fantasy in Philadelphia. But I think Fulgham does stay true. There's a negative game script. It wasn't a negative game script. It was just an unlikely game script for him this week. I think he bounces back next week. So keep him. Yeah, that's right, guys. I'll probably do the same. Dropping Parker, keeping Kirk, and trading Landry. Landry has a really plus schedule too, man. I hope they figure it out. They got to get that guy the ball. But with the return with Nick Chubb, that team looks good. Yeah. It doesn't feel good saying it, but it looks good. I just don't like Baker Mayfield. Sorry, Baker, if you're listening. I don't know. Just not my type of guy. All right, we're going to take a look at our first round fantasy podcasters fantasy league week 10 results. We won, guys. We did the deed. We beat the Leaguers Fantasy Football podcast. Great guys over there. Sad to see you go, but I don't know. Just it happens, guys. They put out great content. Be sure to look out for them on Instagram. Leaguers Fantasy Football. Good guys. We play the Fantasy Football Bros. A couple of bros from the East Coast looking to do some damage. They've had a solid season. I don't have their team right in front of me, but I know we have the better record.
Are we first place now?
Nah, we're still in second.
Okay.
Sloppy Gents are killing it. Shout out to you guys. But Fantasy Football Bros, They put out some good content on Instagram, especially. They also have some really good reads and in-depth analysis, early season rankings, and all of that stuff. So be on the lookout for them next season when you're looking for that early season content to get you going into your fantasy year. But we're still doing good, guys. We move into we're doing good. We're doing good. Not going to spend too much time there. It's funny because I said that there are no more trade targets to talk about, and then we did keep trade cut as if there was like, oh yeah, we can still trade this guy. And then get this, our viewer question this week comes from Lincoln Holbrook. And I don't really know how to read your question, my man. So I'm going to just read it, and then you guys interpret it this way because there's a lot here. Mm-hmm. He says that I'm currently sitting at 4-6. The trade deadline is this week. And seeing as I got this question 2 days ago, I'm seeing as it's this coming week. Okay. Trade deadline is this week. My rock stars are Hopkins, CMC, AJ Brown, Cooper Kupp, and Connor. I'm trying to make a push and trade for some players with higher upside, maybe someone like Gibson. I also don't have Edmonds, but I do have Drake. Would you guys – what are you saying here, bud? Sorry, Lincoln, you got bad spelling. Anyways, appreciate you writing to the show. Basically, I think what we're getting here from Lincoln is what kind of move can he make before the trade deadline? And we've seen this a lot from players in our own league. I know Joe, for instance, in one of the leagues that we all play in together, he's had a rough go of it, but he's had really great players. They just haven't hit. And you always have those unfortunate weeks where you score a lot of points, but the person you're playing always scores more. So this might be the scenario that this person finds himself in. Also, he has CMC, who's been out for the last couple of weeks. He didn't note that he had Davis. I'm hoping he did. But 4-6, I would imagine he's floating somewhere in that 6, 7, 8 seed range right now, trying to get there.
4-6, like 8, 9.
Yeah. 8, 9, really?
Yeah, because I just looked at one of our leagues, and 4-6 wouldn't be that good, and it depends on your points. I think he's just kind of SOL at that point because at this time of year, nobody's going to trade a piece of their team.
You can't tell Lincoln he's SOL, man.
I got you, Lincoln. I got you. Go ahead, Demont.
Okay, what he's trying to upgrade at a position by saying he gave us his whole entire team, like. Yes, I could tell you to package Edmonds and Connor and somebody else and try and get Julio, but nobody's going to trade you Julio. Nobody's going to trade you anybody that has gotten their team to that point. So if somebody's below you, they're not going to have a stud in their team. So you have to find a team that's below you that has a stud, nobody else. So if like that 9th place team has just Julio, you could trade him you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, here's the kicker right here. He asked, the one last thing he added was, would you trade Drake for Ayuk? Because he's the Drake owner and he doesn't have Edmonds. Would you trade Drake for Ayuk? I'm guessing he has the running back depth. Mm-hmm. If you do, Lincoln, I hope you do, because I wouldn't trade a running back for a wide receiver. But it looks like you have Connor, CMC. I don't know who your other running backs are there. He also in parentheses put Gibson. Is there a trade we can work out somewhere in that scenario where we get him Gibson for that home field stretch?
Let's hear Justin so I could bounce off him because he seems to have this guy's what he needs.
Yeah, one more time. The thing about trading, it's 50% value and 50% psychology. I'm telling you, you need to dissect every single one of those teams. And the first thing you need to do is find number one, handcuffs. They're important. If you don't own Davis, you go to the Davis owner. If you don't own Edmonds, you go to the Edmonds owner and try to pitch him Drake. So in this case, what I would do, you cannot go poach one guy that you want. You have to find the teams that match your need. So what I would do in this scenario is I'd go to the Edmonds owner, pitch him Drake plus a flex play for a wide receiver on his team that you like. If you have CMC and say Davis and Connor, you don't need Drake. So there's always a trade out there. You just need to match it up with the team. And, a little bit sells and a little bit selling goes a long way. The one player I would target for him, and it's perfect because I've been wanting to target is Keenan Allen, and they had a mediocre week over there. So if you can package, if all stars align and the Keenan Allen owner is the Edmonds owner, you can find a match there. But go package one of your halfbacks. I would even be comfortable trading Connor because they've just become pass happy over there. So package Connor, say he's on the way up. Go get yourself a nice receiver to help you out. That's my goal. I can see a trade in every team, but that's my preliminary understanding.
Did you use your psychology when you traded me Ty for Lockett?
I mean, not really. That was
okay.
a shot in the dark. And don't forget, I gave you a decent halfback in
You
Philadelphia.
can't even remember him. He wasn't that decent.
I mean, I do remember, but hey, Lockett has trended down. So it was an abuse of a trade, but it was preseason, so no one really knew.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I mean,
you know how I trade. You know how.
Sure, SOL. I'm sorry, bud.
Lincoln, you are not SOL. There's hope for you, my friend. Take the advice of Justin. We appreciate you reaching out to the show. There are 3 ways you can do so. You can always DM us over on Instagram at First Round Fantasy. Send us an email at firstroundfantasy@gmail.com or hit us up on Facebook at First Round Fantasy. We'll be sure to feature your question on the show. With that being said, guys, that just about does it for today. So if you haven't had a chance yet, go check out TeePublic. Guess what? I don't know what they're doing over there because there's a sale all the time. Look at Justin. He looks so freaking good. You can look good too because I'll tell you right now, Justin doesn't always look that good. He's doing something different today. Oh, that's right. He's got a First Round Fantasy t-shirt on. So you can look good too, from a 6 to a 10. It's just how it works.
Can I just say these are actually amazing t-shirts. I didn't know what I was expecting, but if this was on the shelf at a store, I'd buy it, no doubt. This is one of my favorite new t-shirts.
It's good quality. Has Jacob given you the wash instructions yet?
No, I just got it. This is the first time I got to wear the asphalt. I wore the black the other night.
Hey, be careful, man. You wash it, then when you dry it, only put it in for like 10 minutes, then take it out. I got 2 larges, now I got 2 mediums. I don't know what to do.
Air dry, guys.
Air dry. All right.
See, we get more than just football fantasy advice. You know what I mean?
We got some fashion on here as well. Also, last but not least, listen to us everywhere. Spotify, Google Podcasts, just about anywhere you can listen to a podcast, you can listen to us over here at First Round Fantasy. That's it, folks. Good luck with your playoff push. We'll see you next week, week 12. Actually, that's not true. We'll see you Thursday. Have a good night, and we're out of here. Peace.